Okay guys, so I'm about to do some more modifications to this. Now originally, if you look at my early videos on it, it had a cage here. I'm going to add some light so you can see. You can see these little circles here. I'm about to do a forcible removal of those guys, because on something like this, anything at all that you can do to save weight is technically of a big benefit. And I feel like this is the right shape because it'll match the curvature to really get in there and get a good snip on this and clean it right off. And I was right. Almost as good as an X-Acto. So I'm going to try and show you that. I'm just going to take this guy. It's actually not something I can fit in the middle, but if I just put the edge of it in, cleave one arm, come across here, cleave the other arm. Now I got that one done, and there's two of these on every side, which means there's actually a fair bit of material here, guys, that I need to remove. Here, let me set this up so you guys can see a little bit better. Can be awkward to get in there, but once you're in there, you can remove any excess with an X-Acto, and that'll be good. I don't actually recommend this part for the X-Acto because you end up slipping and cutting yourself sometimes, and those kind of cuts are the worst, trust me. So, we're almost done here. We got two more that we need to clear here. And then, you might not think so, but not only is this a little bit of weight that gets cleared, but it's an interruption in the aerodynamics of the helicopter, because it's these two plastic circles on either side of every single rotor. Now, when the cage is on, it flies really wonky because it tends to be even more overweight than it is without them. And I found it was a little overweight, and once I removed that weight, so much better to fly now, guys. It's such a nice little heli. It's gotten so smooth. Something so simple like making it lighter and lubricating the links made such a big difference, guys, to the way that it flies. And this is what I found when I was doing air shows and building and flying RC helis. Weight balance is everything. The same is true with airplanes. If you get the weight right, then you got it right. So the biggest thing to do is to go after the weight balance. Make it as close to perfect as you humanly possibly can, and you'll find your time was well spent. And the same goes for lubricating links and stuff like that. You want them to be as equal as you possibly can get them. One of the best ways I find to do that is to actually lubricate them with lots of lubricant and then spin them up and let them spin off the excess. Okay, so now that doesn't look like all that much plastic, guys, but when you add up all the plastic, it's a bit of material here that I have now removed from this aircraft. And when you add it all up, it counts. Anything you can do to remove plastic from an aircraft that's unnecessary is good. So now, I consider that I basically have this slimmed down. In addition, on here, originally there were glue gun pads I put on here. And I'm actually about to shave those off as well. And so what I'm going to do is here I've noticed there's a lip. So I'm just going to take one of these snippers, and I'm just going to go to the lip, and I'm going to remove it. Now, it's not much of a lip, guys. It's only about this big, tiny little lip of plastic, but it's on all of the feet, and I'm going to remove it, partly for aerodynamic purposes, but also partly for weight. I want as much weight off the helicopter as I can get without doing anything drastic. I'm not actually trimming the body. I just noticed that there was a little overhang on the way that this design is, and reason that if I could remove that overhang, not only would it be more even landing, it'll drift less because they'll all be level. Now it sits a tiny bit lower, but they're all level and it sits nicely. Now there are other things I could do. You'll notice there's a cage here around the gears. Now I've flown these sorts of things for years, and generally I'm not smashing the gears into anything. Nonetheless, when you turn the rotor sideways, you could see this could make contact. So I actually recommend you leave those there. Otherwise, you could cut into these supports and make them lighter, but at most I recommend drilling a few holes in them and making your holes symmetrical all the way around. It's actually why I'm not going to do it. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to make it all symmetrical and perfect. And really, that's all I'm going to do. I've trimmed all the excess plastic off. Now, I've only taken a few grams of plastic off. But when your aircraft is this light, guys, it does make a difference. So I am going to go and fetch my remote control. And we're going to see what happens here. We're going to take a quick flight, guys. And I have, since the last flight, put new batteries in here. What's funny about that was I was just thinking I needed new batteries, and on the next flight they died. So that was kind of cute. And we're going to see how much of a difference that makes, if in fact any noticeable difference at all. I don't really 100% know yet. It actually is taking off at very low throttle, guys. Seems pretty smooth, pretty controllable. I can definitely fly it and put it where I want it. Okay, hold on. Gotta watch that. Got the fan in the way. You do not want to be running actually in front of it. It's bad, so I don't recommend it. And then you gotta watch for entanglements. That was a little piece of wire from my boat build. It's actually running really nice. And I mean, it's getting to the point where it's nice and reliable, and I can bring it back and land it wherever I want. Even with the fan going, I have nice control. And this battery, guys, is still in the process of getting a little stronger. Look at that. I actually rubbed a bowl there, and it didn't even stop it. Just trying to get it really trimmed in perfectly here. But it's not quite there yet. And when you see the flashing, this is a battery getting low warning. That's better. It was tending to want to push forward pretty hard, but we're just going to bring it back here. And it is definitely dying, but that's okay. So we're going to unplug. And the way I have this set up now, I actually have it glued right into the heli. And because it has an aluminum heatsink on the outside of this battery, even a hard case battery generally doesn't have an aluminum heatsink, guys. I give you my battery upgrade that has an aluminum heatsink. Now, this battery is running at a little higher test than it would have been originally. It was a 350 mAh 3.7 volt battery. And I am now charging it a little higher than that because the charger I'm using is capable of pushing it to 1200 mAh and will try to do just that. In fact, that's its job. It will not say it's full until it gets it to that. And basically, that's this little guy right here. Now, because of that setup, I have been charging this battery a little bit harder than it actually was designed for. And it probably is running right around 1000 mAh, which is great. It might even be running the 1200 it's originally designed to charge batteries to. Now, that being said, I've noticed the battery does heat up a bit during flights, but because it's got the aluminum heatsink and it's flying, and it's generating air and cooling behavior, therefore, it's actually a really sweet setup, guys. So I've just got it plugged in. Now, you will notice I have it dead center, and if you look really carefully, you'll see that I have this exactly, perfectly, precisely symmetrical. See the distance from right to left on the battery tray? it's perfect. That's really important for your CG, and it's one of the reasons why this plane flies much better now. For one, the battery compartment was so loosey-goosey. That was actually a problem. Now we don't have that problem anymore. That's been completely and utterly resolved. It flies amazing. This is probably going to be my last video on this aircraft, just because really there's not much to do now. Traditionally, what I would like to do, and what I did, is when I get a vehicle, I do a test on it. If there's anything I don't like, I cover what I didn't like, and then I cover what to do about it, and that's what I've done here. So in this case, because it was too heavy, we've gone with a lighter battery. Even though it is aluminum cased, it is still a lighter battery than what was in there. I've also removed the weight of the battery tray itself by removing it, and since it wasn't holding the battery very well anyway, there wasn't much need for it. In addition to that, I've slightly lightened the helicopter in the ways that I've showed you in this video. But that's really the only lightening that's been done to it that wasn't shown, was the removal of the battery tray. That being said, it's here. It works very well. And I'm at the point now where once this battery is charged again, I'm going to spin it up outside, and the next video will be outside. I was actually going to do the last one outside, but I just keep wanting to do testing on it and try different battery combos out. I've actually tried a bunch at this point, but this is by far the best one. It seems like this battery just works perfectly. Now, I couldn't use the whole casing. I actually cut it so it fit the entire battery. You notice there's a bit sticking out front and back, and I've just glue gunned that in place. That's because anything other than this, and it was heavier than I wanted, and I went by flight performance. I actually started with it heavier and then just kept shrinking it until it got to the flight performance that I really wanted, which is the correct flying weight. Right now we're at that weight, and then I took off maybe a gram or two of plastic all the way around, which is nice. And I didn't find that was bad. It didn't fly worse than before. It actually still flies very nice, but I did find it was a little bit more sensitive. But that's not bad. That's it getting sensitive on the controls. That's actually a good thing. That just means that it's going to give me what I want. And I still have it on sensitivity level 1, guys. So lubricating the motors has helped a lot. Well, the gearing, in fact, not the motors themselves. That helped a lot. And then putting the lighter battery in helped a lot. And between the two, it's a much better flying aircraft now. And I really don't have anything else to add on this one. But the fact that it was too heavy was pretty self-evident. As soon as you try to do hard maneuvers with it, it tended to drop really hard. Any stunts you did, it tended to drop a few feet out of the air. That's a sign of it not being strong enough to carry its weight, and now it doesn't have that problem anymore, at least not that I've seen so far. I will take it outside to really provoke it and see how far that goes and how aggressively I can now maneuver it, and I'll discuss that when I get done with it. For now, that's it, and Keith out, guys.